Peace be with you. Welcome to the Institute of All Intelligent Life. My name is Alan Kiesler. This is part 2 because I got cut off. I lost the signal when I was giving the start of this class. So I moved around. I got Facebook's message again to find a better place. So I moved a little bit and here I was able to get the signal again. So I will continue the story when I was now a little over 50 years old. This was 1998. It was in the fall, about the end of October or beginning of November. I don't remember the exact date. So I was taken off planet. I was literally just moved through space, and I actually cannot remember if I was in a vehicle, in a spaceship, or how I was transported, but I was taken out beyond the asteroid belt area. It was very clear to me that I was out somewhere around the orbit of Jupiter or Saturn. And as we descended, we came down upon this object. I don't know if it was like artificially constructed or if it was an asteroid or some little moon or something, but inside of this object, as we descended into it, it was a big stadium or a big auditorium. And there were hundreds or maybe thousands of people, I don't know how many, sitting around. And in the middle of this stadium, there was a table, a big round oval table. And there were maybe 30 or 40 some people, I can't remember how many, who were of all different species. That is, many of them, or some of them, looked exactly like human beings, but many of them did not. They looked quite different. They were obviously not human beings. They were extraterrestrials, and they were having a discussion. And this discussion was about Earth and whether they should stop a nuclear war from happening. This was quite amazing to me, but I never knew that there would be such a council or such a meeting discussing the Earth's future, but that's what they were doing. And some of them were saying that we have prevented a nuclear war before on the Earth, and we should allow it to happen this time because due to our preventing it before, people did not wake up. If we had allowed that war to happen, the people, the Earthlings, would have woken up. They would have gotten a real shock, and they would have, as you can imagine, if there was an international atomic conflagration now, millions, billions of people would probably be killed. Everybody who survived and didn't get killed by the radiation, they would realize we got to change something. This is very bad. So this is what they were arguing. One group of them were arguing that we should allow the war to happen this time because then people will wake up. But now they're still mostly sleeping. But others were arguing, including my mother, that no, we should prevent it again because we don't want all that suffering to happen on Earth, and somehow or the other they will be waked up if we just keep working to wake them up. So as I was watching, I realized those who are arguing to let the war happen are in the majority. At least they're speaking more loudly, more forcefully, and they were winning the debate. So it looked like this was going to be the decision that was going to be made, that the war was going to happen. And they all knew it was going to happen the next year. It was like somehow they knew that this is destined or this was prophesied. And in fact, I knew that Nostradamus, or maybe I can't remember if I knew then, but I read later, I think I already had heard it, that in 1999, in the 7th month, I think the words he used were the king of terror would come from the sky, and it was like often interpreted, and I understood that this was going to be a world war, a nuclear war. So that actually was what they also understood. So they said, okay, so it's going to happen next year. There will be this war, so we should do what we need to prepare for it. And I was a little disappointed because I was thinking, boy, this is horrible. What's going to happen on the planet? But then suddenly everyone became silent. Pin drop silence. And I couldn't understand what had happened. Then I saw everyone was looking back behind me. And so I turned and I looked. And there was a personality floating down. Literally just, coming like this, floating. I lost the signal again, came back. So everyone stood up. Everyone immediately realized this is a representative of a higher authority, and we are going to have to do what he says. That's what everyone assumed. He's going to tell us what to decide, what to do. And it was very interesting to me that many of the people were happy. Many people actually, they bowed their heads, they offered respect to this person. And some of them, however, were upset. It was clear they were not happy that this decision has been taken out of our hands, especially the ones who were, arguing more loudly and thinking now we're going to win this debate and we're going to get our way and the war is going to happen. They were a little disturbed that they have to now do what this man's going to tell them or this person's going to tell them. So he said only one word: mercy. That was all he said, one word. And from that, everyone understood this is going to be the message that we're going to prevent the war again. So it's very interesting to me. Oh yes, let me say that I got many questions from the students. What language were they speaking and how could you understand it? And well, I understood it in English, but they had some sort of system, like in the United Nations, they have simultaneous translation system, so everyone can understand in their own language. But they didn't have any machines. Everyone could just hear, I think, in their mind. They may have actually been speaking telepathically rather than using language, but I could hear it very clearly in English. So this is what was the conclusion of that meeting. And in fact, it's very, very interesting to me that in the next year, the 7th month, in fact, June, July of 1999, there was almost a war. There was a war, actually, between India and Pakistan in the Siachen Glacier and in Kargil. And everyone thought, all over the world, people were really fearful that nuclear war could break out between India and Pakistan because both had atomic weapons. But somehow that war was prevented. So that was my most meaningful experience. And I learned a lot later. Only about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years ago at the most, only 2 or 3 years ago maybe, I learned that there in fact is a group called the Galactic Federation, I think, which does meet and discuss, and they oversee sort of some affairs on Earth. Although I've heard very recently, just in the last few months, that that federation may have been disbanded. But anyway, back in 1998, that was operating, and so this, if you're interested, you can look up Corey Goode. That's who I heard it from. Coreygoode. He gave this information that that Galactic Federation has now been disbanded just in the last few months. So very, very interesting news. Anyway, so let me just tell 1 or 2 more things about the classes I gave on Friday. So a number of the students had very, very good questions. One of the most interesting one was we had a talk with one young man who was a follower of Trump, supporter of President Trump. And many of the students weren't, but he was. So we discussed about President Trump. And I said, well, I think President Trump has done one very, very good thing. That is, he is pursuing the pedophiles, those horrible people. And some of them are very powerful politicians, very wealthy leaders of the world who engage in very, very horrible activities, abducting children, and I don't even want to talk about it, but President Trump is actually going after them. And the mafia, for the first time since President Kennedy in 1963, of course, was assassinated, but he had, with his brother, Bobby Kennedy, the Attorney General, they were going after these mafias and these crime rings and pedophilia rings too. So he was killed maybe because of that, partly because of that. He also was planning to reveal the truth. So I got cut off again. I keep getting cut off, but I've got the signal back again now. So President Trump is going after these criminal and especially pedophile rings and is arresting many of those leaders. You may not read about it in the newspapers or see it on TV, but he is doing it. And in fact, he fired, I can't remember the exact figure, but maybe 60 federal prosecutors because they were refusing to go after these pedophiles. So President Trump is very serious about that. So I told this young man that I like him because of that, but I didn't vote for him. And I don't like some things about him, especially he is really ignorant about Islam. He has very wrong ideas about Pakistan and about Islam. But anyway, we all have our good points and our bad points. So we had a friendly conversation about President Trump. But I was also asked about Pakistan more questions, since the students knew that I had been living in Pakistan the first 18 years of my life, and they were, mostly a little less than 18 years old, high school students. So they asked me about Pakistan, and I told them that people don't really understand Pakistan at all. Pakistan is a very good country. This is false propaganda that Pakistan is a center of terrorism. No, those terrorists are not actually Muslims. It's totally against Islam to engage in any sort of terrorist act, especially attacking and killing innocent people. It's totally against the rules of Islam. Even in a war, non-combatants, women, children, old people, businessmen, monks, cannot be attacked and killed. That's the law of Islam. So what to speak of, targeting innocent people. So we had a very good discussion. I had discussions with many people at the school. And let me think well, I guess that's enough, that I was giving a lot of information about extraterrestrials, and the students were fascinating. I hope you are too. So I'm just going to see now if anybody here has questions. I'm sorry that I've missed the earlier questions that got cut off, but I'm just going to not read most of them. Many comments are here, how are you and everything. I won't read them all. Arshad Khan is saying, Alan sir, Urdu mein baat kare. He's asking me to speak in Urdu, but I won't speak in Urdu now. Because this is an English class, specifically for the principal of the high school I was at, who doesn't know Urdu. So Hamid Khan says, you see why I am thinking of you as to why you think of Pakistan. So I often think, or always am thinking of Pakistan, so this Pakistani young man is thinking of me. So thank you very much. Again, more requests. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. I wasn't well yesterday. I had a pretty bad headache and like a flu in my nasal passages. I was planning to give this class yesterday, but then I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't. But I'm feeling better this morning. Let's see. Many hellos. And all right, so here's a good point. Muhammad Nadim Sumair says, they would be gentle. Oh, they would be genie, excuse me. A creature of Allah mentioned in Quran having some supernatural powers. A complete chapter is there on genie. Yes, the genies, or the jinns, they are another type of creature. And I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe some extraterrestrials, some creatures that we call extraterrestrials, are jinns. But others are not. In fact, I'm certain that the extraterrestrial that I met, whom I call my mother, she's not a jinn. She's more like an angel. She's very, very angelic, very sweet and loving and heavenly. So I think there are many different types of extraterrestrials. Some may be genies, may be jinns, and others may be angelic type creatures, and then some are like human beings. Some, as in that meeting, had emotions just like human beings. So I think there are many different types of extraterrestrials. We can't just say all of them are jinns, but some of them may well be, yes. So Hamza Abbas, who was that? I'm not sure. Oh, maybe that personality who appeared. I think, just like everybody understood in their own language, everyone perceived that personality according to their understanding. That was the impression that I got. But he was a representative of God, I guess, a representative of some higher authority. And Muhammad Nadim Sumair says, and that would be the final one, if it could happen. But we should pray that Allah may save us from this brutal event. Yes, I believe, I may be wrong, but my conviction is that that war that was supposed to happen in 1999, that was actually predicted and destined even to happen, it has been prevented. Not that we could prevent it, Humanity could not have done it, but higher powers had prevented that war. And I believe, although you say that it could happen, it could have happened, and I guess it's possible it still could happen, but I believe it's not going to happen now. I believe that it has been prevented, and that war, which is called Armageddon in English, in many different traditions around the world, different languages, they have different names for that final, very, very destructive war, after which, only after which, world peace would be established. I believe that war has been prevented, and we will be able to achieve world peace and harmony without having to undergo. But I don't know for sure, but that's my opinion, because destiny can be changed. We can't change it, but the person who, or the forces who create destiny, they can also stop or change destiny. Okay, let's see if there are any other important points here in the comments. Asad Yusuf says, I saw your video in which you explain Qaid-e-Azam saw Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Please explain me. Yes, this is a wonderful story, and there are many stories. In fact, I was shown a book in Urdu several years ago. A friend of mine, a Sufi, showed me a book in Urdu in which there were hundreds of examples in Pakistan. I mean, since 1947, in Pakistan, people who saw the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and physically saw him, and some saw him in vision. So Qaid-e-Azam also saw the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and this was in 1934 in London. Qaid-e-Azam had been working and got a little frustrated with the politics in India, trying to work for independence, and he went to England thinking he could be more successful in working with the Parliament directly in London. He was a very expert lawyer, so Qaid-e-Azam knew how to argue for Indian independence, so he had gone to London and was planning to stay there to work for the independence and also for the cause of Pakistan. But one morning, one night actually, he was sleeping and he felt his bed shaking. And he woke up, looked around, couldn't understand what had happened, so he went back to sleep. Then after a while, his bed started shaking more violently. So he actually got up out of bed and went, because he thought it was maybe an earthquake, so he went out. Qaid-e-Azam went out of his apartment and looked around. Nobody else was up. Everything was silent, so he went back to bed again a third time. His bed started shaking. That time when he got up, he saw somebody standing there at the foot of his bed, a very beautiful, shining person. He immediately got up and he said, in English of course, who are you? And the answer came in perfect English, I am your Prophet Muhammad. And Qaid-e-Azam, my Lord, what can I do for you? So then the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, said, So the Holy Prophet said, I order you to go back to India and take up the leadership, the freedom struggle for the Muslims. So Qaid-e-Azam did that. And he went back and everyone was surprised. Anyway, this is a long story, but that's briefly what happened. And that's why Qaid-e-Azam returned to India from London. So I don't know why the signal keeps getting cut off, but I think I will end the class soon, but I'll see if there are a couple more questions. Muhammad Ijaz says, Inshallah, 2018 election will be turning point in Pakistan history. Yes, I also am praying that, and I believe that there will be a new era in Pakistan with this 2018 election. God willing. Let us pray for that. Muhammad Nadeem Sumer says, maybe fairies. Yes, this is another possibility. There are creatures who are called fairies. They usually are not considered extraterrestrials because they live here on this planet or in this dimension. But some of them may be extraterrestrials too, I don't know. But there are many types of beings that we don't usually think about or talk about or know about in modern civilization, but in other societies in the past people have been more open to them and have been interacting with them. Now many of them, including extraterrestrials, they stay away from humanity because they know that we're dangerous. And fairies also don't usually reveal themselves because people are against them. So anyway, I think that all this is changing. Okay, Sadaf Hakim is asking, Assalamu alaikum, sir, please elaborate on ET that are angels and how they interact and look like. Also, the human, I didn't get how ET can be humans. Are you talking about that proposed theory of Mayans traveling to space? I'm not talking about that idea of the Mayans traveling in space or the Maya people, but I do believe that, not a theory, that I believe is a fact, that the whole advanced civilization in Central and South America disappeared. And one theory is, or my understanding also is, that they were taken to space, to some other location, because they came to a higher level of consciousness and they ascended to a higher dimension. They became fourth dimensional creatures. We are third dimensional. We are transforming into fourth dimensional. So the Maya people did that already, the whole civilization. I don't know how many thousands of, tens of thousands, how many of them, millions, but yes. So I believe that your question was, are the ETs that are like angels? There are different kinds. The one that I met, that I've been most in touch with, as I said, she looks like a very beautiful woman, but her face looks more like a cat's face. Her ears are on top of her head. There are others, angelic creatures, who look more like birds and have wings. And there are many different types of angelic extraterrestrials, and there are demonic or devilish extraterrestrials also, who are very evil and selfish and exploitive. And some of them look more like reptiles. That is, they have 2 arms and 2 legs, but they may have a tail, and their face looks more reptilian. There are some that are insectoid. So there are many types of extraterrestrials. But interestingly, most of them have 2 arms and 2 legs, and they look very similar. They're humanoid, and some of them look exactly like human beings. In fact, they probably are our relatives, our distant cousins. In fact, according to my understanding, anyway, that's a long story. I won't get into that. I'll just try to answer your question. Also, the human, I didn't get how ET can be humans. Yes, many extraterrestrials, in fact, some of the most famous ones, the ones from the Pleiades, ones from the Sirius system, some of them, they look exactly like human beings, and they may be our relatives also. And I guess I've answered your question, so I'll just see if there are any more, 1 or 2 more questions. Imtiaz Khan, I watched a TV program last night that you became a convert. I'm so glad. Allah bless you. Yes, I am a Muslim. I'm also, however, a Christian. I'm a Hindu, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Taoist, I'm a Sikh, I'm a Jew, I'm a Jain, I'm a Native American. Spiritual traditions I follow. I worship every day. I say namaz, Muslim prayers. I say Christian prayers. I say Hindu prayers. I say Buddhist mantras. Because I believe all of them are true. All of them are from the same one God, and they all are very beneficial. I get a lot of benefit from them. So when I converted to a Muslim, I didn't leave Christianity or leave anything else. I just started saying namaz more regularly. Okay, I think perhaps that's enough. We've gone on for quite a while. So thank you all very, very much, and I'm going to share this with the principal of the high school I was at the day before yesterday, so he can also hear basically what I talked about in those classes there. But I'm very, very thankful to him and the school teachers for inviting me to come and teach their students about extraterrestrials. And I did talk a lot more about other subjects, about extraterrestrial spirituality. There was a class on ethics, there was one of the classes, one on world religions, so I talked about religion also, extraterrestrial religion and spirituality, or their ideas, but I'm not going to go into that now, but I will in the future, God willing, whenever I'm invited again. Anywhere, I'll be happy to speak about these topics. Okay, thank you all very much. Peace be with you.